This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
How about them Bears, the only 4-0 team this preseason, winning all 4 games and wrapping up an undefeated start to the NFL's preseason. On top of that, Ryan Poles has traded for a pass rusher, sending a 6th-round pick to the Seahawks for Daryl Taylor, a 27-year-old pass rusher who upgrades our defensive line. I made a video on him earlier. But back to our victory against Kansas City, it doesn't mean much, but it is great to see this team winning football games. Our backups played pretty well all preseason long. Another dominant victory to close out the preseason, though, beating the defending champion Kansas City Chiefs by a final score of 34-21. I literally talked about one guy that I wanted to make a play last night in my preview of the game, and I called out cornerback Stewart. He definitely made a play. He came up with a big interception in the end zone, taking points away from the Chiefs right after a special teams blunder. But he wasn't done yet. Reddy then finished with his second interception with a pick six, absolutely earning himself MVP of the game and really standing out. You absolutely love to see it. Reddy's a ball hawk out of Troy, and he was one of my favorite undrafted free agents. He's a guy with a ton of talent, but the biggest issue is our cornerback room is loaded with talent. It's going to be hard for him to beat out Jalen Jones, Josh Blackwell, or Greg Stroman Jr., but I would love it if Poles found a way to stash him on the roster. Meanwhile, Tyson Bagent did start the game, and he capped off a nice drive with a rushing touchdown, diving for the pylon. Bagent is our backup quarterback. Enough said on that topic. Brett Rippon does continue to look decent in mop-up duty, though. He threw for 106 yards, but undrafted rookie Austin Reed also had a great showing. He went 8 for 10 for 63 yards, and he threw the only passing TD of the game, finding tight end Tommy Sweeney for a score. Great showing for Austin Reed. I'd love to see him stick around on the practice squad as well. On offense, though, Veis Jones was the star of this one, rushing for over 100 yards less than 2 weeks after becoming a running back, and he broke off a 39-yard touchdown run, showing some pretty good vision and speed. Veis had 13 carries for 111 yards, averaging 8.5 yards per carry, easily outperforming Travis Homer. Veis also had 2 catches for 11 yards, and he did his best to make his case to stick around as a running back. He honestly looked better than Ian Wheeler as well. Wheeler had 5 carries for 5 yards, and Homer had 4 carries for 13 yards. At wide receiver was Tyler Scott, who played way more reps than I thought he would. He was out there almost the entire game, but he put together his best showing as a pro. Tyler had 9 targets, and he would catch 6 passes for 99 yards on the night. Scott is our 4th wide receiver, and he should get some opportunities this year. I was a bit surprised he was out there that long, but he does need the reps. Nasimba Webster also looked pretty good. He had 3 catches for 68 yards. He's a long shot for our final wide receiver spot. And then on to the offensive line, where unfortunately we lost Larry Borum. He had to get carted off the field. There's a good chance he could be going to IR. And then Ja'Tyre Carter struggled with penalties in a game where he really needed to impress to make the roster. He had 2 flags early in the game, but Bill Murray also had a holding call. I'll be watching the All-22 tonight to try to figure out which one of these guys stood out, as I'm nearly completed with my 53-man roster projection, but I'm trying to figure out which one of these offensive linemen are going to grab the final spot. Matt Pryor did look really good again. He's a lock to make this roster if you ask me. But then on to the defense. I thought the unit looked really good. Jonathan Owens had 8 tackles. Daniel Hardy and Jamry Cromah both got into the backfield at times. I thought Daniel Hardy was definitely going to make this roster, but the trade for Daryl Taylor could change that. Find out more on that tomorrow. I did think cornerback Ro Torrence had his best game as a pro, but he did get beat a few times. I love how he fought back, though, and he's very physical and has a ton of length, but it was Stewart who stood out the most. He had the 2 interceptions, and he almost had a third, just missing another one. He did everything he could to make this roster. If our cornerback room wasn't so deep, Reddy would be a lock. But Ryan Poles has a very interesting decision to make there. Micah Baskerville added 5 tackles and a pass deflection. I think he's going to make this roster as well. The weirdest thing of the night for me was the Bears' kick return coverage. It just did not look ready for the regular season. The Chiefs had 7 returns for 239 total yards, averaging over 34 yards a clip and returning multiple kicks for over 40 yards. Special teams coach Richard Hightower is not going to be happy about that showing, and it's something we need cleaned up before the start of the season. We do not need teams starting at the 40-yard line on offense. I want to take a minute to thank BetUS for sponsoring today's video. Click the link in the description below to get a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. Right now, the money line on the Bears winning the NFC North is plus 300. Odds are subject to change, but that's something I'm interested in. Are we guaranteed to win the North this year? No. The battle for the NFC North is going to be a dogfight, and I really like the Bears at these odds. BetUS has us covered. Whether it was Caleb Williams, Tyson Bagent, Brett Rippon, or Austin Reed, we managed to score points and move the football. And on defense, we got turnovers and played solid. A great showing for preseason, but nothing to overreact about. It does show that Ryan Poles has improved the back half of this roster, though. Preseason is just that, though. Games still don't count. Things get real now as our next game is at home against the Tennessee Titans. Starting off Caleb Williams' career, it's the real deal, guys, and we're less than 2 weeks away. How do you guys feel about preseason? Who was your standout player? If you missed it, the Bears did trade for a pass rusher earlier, Daryl Taylor, a guy with 21.5 sacks and 90 pressures over the last 3 years. I did a video on him earlier, but he's another rotational pass rusher for this defensive line. To make room for him, we waived defensive end Khalid Kareem. I did not have him making our 53-man roster. The final spot is most likely between Dominique Robinson and Daniel Hardy. Ryan Poles will be monitoring the waiver wires, though, as over 1,500 players will be released in the next 5 days. All teams will drop from 90 players to 53 by Tuesday, a crazy time in the NFL for transactions. Maybe Ryan Poles can find another couple of players to bring in, but remember, he will have to cut someone in order to do so. I have my 53-man roster projection almost finished. I am watching all 22 of our backup offensive and defensive linemen against the Chiefs and watching some tape of newly acquired pass rusher Daryl Taylor. Just under 2 weeks until we kick off the regular season against the Titans. How do you guys feel about going 4-0 this preseason? Are you ready for week 1? And then thanks again to BetUS for sponsoring this video. Please remember to hit that like button for me, guys. Stay tuned. And until next time, bear down.